Hi there. I am going to do the answer video that I said I would do at the end of the video called What It's Like to Live When You Don't Want to. I said if you had any questions about that to go ahead and throw them in the comments and I would do an answer video. And that's what this is. I do want to say that I am going to be talking about very sensitive topics in this video, such as suicide and very deep chronic depression. And if you are not in a good place to hear about that, please go find something that's better for you to watch right now. Take care of yourself. I love you and I will see you next time. Before we get into the questions, I wanted to just clarify a couple of things that I talked about in the last video. One of the things I talked about was a puzzle analogy, how I feel like all of the world has been given this puzzle that we have to do, but for some of us, the puzzle is impossible. We haven't been given all of the pieces or something just makes it an impossible puzzle to solve. And I wanted to be sure to say that I know that everybody has trouble with that puzzle. Life is just hard for so many of us. And I wasn't trying to belittle that. Everybody has trouble with the puzzle. What I meant was that for like the basic building blocks of life, that particular puzzle, most people, the general population, by the time we get to a certain age, we're able to do the very basic things like hold a job, have friendships, have relationships, bathe every day, just the very, very basic things. But for some of us, as basic as it sounds, as easy as it seems like it should be for us to do, we just can't. We just can't. And because it is so basic, there's an awful lot of judgment that comes along with the fact that we can't do those things. And that's the puzzle I was talking about, the impossible puzzle I was talking about. When you get aside from those basic things, everybody has trouble, right? I was just trying to explain what it's like, which is really all I'm doing here at all. I'm not going to have some sort of magical answers in this video. I wish that I did. Do I wish that I did? But I really don't know how to fix any of this. The whole purpose of me talking about this online is just to try and help people understand what it's like. Because I find that this is an illness that a lot of people just do not understand, cannot fully get what it's like from our side. And I guess that you probably will never will. I hope that you never will, those of you that are just watching it to understand, because I think to fully really understand it, you'd have to experience it. And I don't want that for you. So I hope that you never fully understand it. But I do think that getting a better understanding can be very, very helpful to the people in your life that have mental illness and for the people who have mental illness so that the people in their life can understand it a little bit better. Sometimes it's easier to hear from the people that are outside of your life and to understand it a little bit better for people that you don't personally know. So that is all that I'm trying to do with these videos, is just raise a level of understanding of what it's like. But I don't have, and I'm not going to be able to give you any sort of magical answers in this video. I'm just going to try and help you understand as much as I can. One final thing before we get started, I just want to tell you that my perspective, the place that I'm coming from, is somebody who has been depressed for the majority of her life and has tried just about everything you can think of to try and make it better. I think I can confidently say that I've tried at least 98% of the things that they say you should try, and that hasn't worked for me. I am what you call treatment resistant. Good times, y'all. And it is from that perspective that I am speaking for a lot of this. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood that that's where I'm coming from, and we'll get right into the questions. Okay, so the physical symptoms are just as bad. Do you agree? Yes, I absolutely agree. For me, the physical symptoms are a serious feeling of heaviness on the really bad days. I feel very, very heavy, and so I move very slowly. Everything just feels much more difficult to do. I deal with massive fatigue all the time. There isn't a time you will ever see me where I'm not tired. And on the really bad days, I get body aches, like I have the flu or something. And I believe it's like this cycle that feeds off of each other. You can be feeling kind of bad, so you do less, then you feel bad about yourself for doing less, so then you get more depressed, and then you feel even more tired, so then you're doing even less, and it's just this like cycle that can play out for days. So yes, totally agree. Physical symptoms can be just as bad. Someone asked me if I have sought therapy. Indeed, I have a whole video about the things that I did trying to cure myself along the way. I was in therapy off and on for 20 years. I'm not currently in therapy. I don't know if I had kind of a little bit of a traumatic experience the last time I was in therapy. At least it made me very sad. And so I'm hesitant to start again, but mostly because I think maybe I've already gotten everything I can out of therapy. There might be a day when I go back, but right now it's not for me. 15 years or however much it was, because it was off and on, but it was probably like a total of 15 years. That's enough. Right now, that's enough. Somebody asked me, have I tried drugs and how do they make me feel? I have tried so many drugs. Not all of them legal. Not recommended, not recommended. Of the prescribed drugs, I have tried so many. So I've tried just about every antidepressant that you can imagine. Most of them did mostly nothing. I mean, of course, side effects. Everything has side effects. The onboarding and offboarding of medication is a whole thing. Headaches, lack of sleep, weight gain, sexual side effects, which aren't a problem now, but were a big problem back when I used to be a sexual creature. Lots of fun side effects, but very little actual help. Prozac helps a little bit. I am still on that because it does help just a tiny bit to keep me out of the very depths of the well. Wellbutrin made me so freaking mad all the time. I was just pissed off all the time when I was on Wellbutrin. Then when I got pretty much no help from any of the antidepressants, the doctors were like, let's try all these other things. Let's kitchen sink this shit. So I got like seizure meds and like other kind of mental illness meds, schizophrenia meds, various different kind of meds. One of those was Seroquel. Gave me the worst freaking heartburn of my life. I couldn't even sleep when I was on that medication because the heartburn was so bad. I did at one point try ADHD meds, which helped a lot, but I did not understand enough about ADHD at the time, and I thought that it was just helping me because it was speed, and of course that was going to help me, and I was worried I would get addicted to it. And again, I just really didn't understand what ADHD was. I thought the doctor who brought it up with me was a dork. I thought that this PhD dude definitely didn't know as much as I did about it. So I didn't stay on the meds. Now I have some heart issues, some blood pressure issues. Every time I've tried to get on the meds again, since I found out I officially actually have it and now understand what the heck it really is, I've tried to get back on them and I can't because it messes with my heart. So I can't be on that one, but I am still on Prozac and I have tried a slew of them. A lot of them gave me feelings, but not good ones. Okay, so I had folks ask me if I have tried to get on public assistance and or Social Security disability. Indeed, I have. I've tried really hard to get on something like Section 8 or something to help with the rent before I ended up in the van. I think that there's a misconception about how easy it is to get that. Like we can just walk into an office and be like, hey, I need some money. And they'll be like, let me write you a check. It doesn't work like that at all. It's actually very difficult to get on public assistance. And for the rental assistance, it was like a 3 to 5 year waiting list for any of that. So I did try, it didn't work out for me. I also tried Social Security disability. It was a 3-year long process and I was ultimately denied in the end. So I did try, those did not work out for me. I am financially doing okay right now. Another of the questions that I got was, how am I living? What is my income? And so I'm just going to be real upfront with it and give you the numbers. I have some mineral rights that was handed down to me, and they're like releasing those mineral rights. So I get about $600 a month from that. It used to be more. It's gone down. It kind of goes up and down, but on average, it's $600 a month. And then I have started making somewhere between $300 and $400 a month on YouTube. And let me just tell you what it means to me to have this channel. Just the idea that I have started to look at it like a job, like I'm working again. It is the coolest feeling because I haven't been able to work for a really long time and I've hated it. I've hated every minute of it. It is not a good feeling not being able to work. I don't know very many people that are like, yeah, hell yeah, let me just not work and deal with the anxiety that brings 24 hours a day and be bored out of my mind most of the time. Because the not being able to do things extends to all the things that we love as well. All of the hobbies that we might want to do, anything that we want to do. It can be, for some of us, it is just like, we just can't. We can't do things. And the boredom that brings, I cannot convey to you. It's like painful. I hate it so much. But the fact that I now have this job, which I think YouTube works for me because, one, it's something that I enjoy doing. But I've tried doing other things for jobs that I enjoyed doing, and I wasn't able to do those things. I think part of it is that there's very little prep work involved. I'm able to just turn the camera on when I feel like I can and turn it back off, and then I can edit when I can and not have to edit. And there's like very little prep work involved in doing it. The prep work was always a major stumbling block for me and other things. Also, I can do the work without actually having to interact with other beings. And while I love interacting with other human human beings. I'm not always up for that. So it's really great to have something that I can do on the days where I'm just not up for interacting with people, but I can still work. And the fact that I feel very little pressure, the kind of pressure you get from another job where you have to be somewhere at certain times and you have to make these future commitments. And I can't do that. I just can't do that. I have lost so many jobs because I can't do that. I feel like you guys aren't going to fire me. Like I can go for a while without posting because I'm going to have those days, right? But I don't think you guys going to fire me because of it. And that's the coolest thing ever. So I think I found a job that works for me. Now, I mean, like YouTube isn't super job security, right? Like you can lose it all in a day. That freaking agnostic video I made scared the living bejeebers out of me because people just started dropping off the channel. And I was like, oh, I'm losing another job. I can't believe I'm losing another job right now. But I definitely overreacted. I mean, I did lose quite a few people, but it wasn't nearly enough that I should have been that freaked out. So anyway, financially, I'm doing okay. I'm bringing in somewhere around $900 to $1,000 a month. And that is enough to pay my insurance, pay my cell phone, gas, food, that kind of thing. Society makes you feel like you're supposed to be productive. Why is that exactly? Why is that exactly? No, you may have meant this as a rhetorical question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. I have been watching a lot of this Professor Robert Sapolsky. One of you guys actually turned me on to him. And he's like a neuroscientist and he teaches behavioral biology or biological behavior. I'm not sure which way it is at Stanford. And you can actually watch these incredible Stanford lectures on YouTube for free. And I have to tell you, he has gone kind of a long way to help me feel a little less like every dang old thing is my fault. It is mind-blowing how much of our behavior is dictated by our biology. And I'm not just talking about humans, I'm talking about everything from bacteria to the birds and everything in between. We are so freaking driven by our biology. Biology dictates that we survive and that we help our species survive. So I think that's some of it. But I think some of it too is just that animalistic survival of the fittest. And so many people believe that if you're not one of the fittest, you just shouldn't survive because you're bringing the rest of us down. But we're not gazelles, right? Although I guess they would rather us be lions. They want me to be the gazelle and them to be the lion. But yeah, I think it's like, first of all, I think humans just really freaking love to judge. It's a thing that we just love to do. It's fun. It's so much fun. I'm just as guilty as the next guy. So some of it is just that. I think it's just a combination of things. Survival of the species, survival of the fittest, judging is fun. Sapolsky could probably answer a heck of a lot better than I could. What can I say to give you hope? I don't think I'm going to answer this the way you want me to. I don't think you can give us hope. Not people like me. I think that's part of the brain wiring. We just don't have it. But that lets you off the hook. And it brings me to the next question. What can I do to help someone with mental illness? That's the big one, right? That's probably the thing that brought you here. I wish with all my heart and soul I had some sort of magical answer to give you. Because so many people told me how they're doing. And it's not well. For so many of you guys, it's not well. And I would give anything in the whole world to have something, to do something, to say something that would make it easier for you. But I can offer up a few suggestions that might help a little. In my experience, the most helpful thing anybody has ever been able to do for me is just to love me without judgment. You would be surprised what a rare thing that is. But it can help a lot in just staying, knowing that you're out there, feeling that love without judgment for me. That helps me stay. There are more practical things you can do. Cleaning up for them seems like such a small thing, right? But there's like this lady on TikTok who does that. She specifically goes around and cleans depressed people's houses. People who are unable to clean their own houses because they are so depressed. And she goes and she cleans their houses, these houses that have been neglected for sometimes years. And people are like, why would you do that? And she's like, I'm just trying to help. And boy, howdy, is she helping. That's a big deal. You have to find a way to do it in such a way that it doesn't make them feel even worse. I think if somebody tried to come into my house and clean my house, I might feel bad about that. I might feel guilty about that. So you would need to find a way to broach it Like, this is something I want to do because it makes me feel better. You know, if I feel like there's something in it for you, I might be more willing to let you do something for me, you know? But if you can make sure that it's like, this is not a judgment, I am really just trying to help. It'll make me feel better if I help. These kinds of things, I think if you go into their house and clean their house, that can be a big freaking deal. That can be very helpful. If you have the money and you know they're struggling, maybe pay a bill for them. Maybe help them out a little bit with their bills. If that's something you can do, that is very helpful because a lot of us have trouble keeping up with jobs. So financial help can really go a long way. Gifting someone a massage, someone who's capable of going to the massage place and getting a massage, because so many of us are touch starved, desperately touch starved, and a massage. But let me just say this. Don't do like what I did and just book a massage, just saying the word massage as though all massages are the same. They are not, my friends. You want to book a nice, relaxing massage. Make sure you're just doing like the relaxing, loving, you know, ain't nobody trying to work out 30-year-old muscle kinks over here, right? We just want some love, okay? We just want a loving touch. Not that kind of loving touch. Get your mind out the gutter. You got to make room for mine. But yeah, the very, very best thing you can do is just in every single interaction you have with them, make it your goal to communicate to them how much you love them and how lacking of judgment you are around them. That can go so far. And let me just say that I want to acknowledge to the folks that are not mentally ill yourself, but you have someone in your life that is. I know how hard that is. I know how painful that is for you, how frustrating that is for you, how hurtful it can be to you sometimes, because sometimes we lash out and we say mean things, or we go quiet and you won't hear from us for long periods of time. And I know how hurtful that can be, and it's so unfair to you. This is such an unfair illness to everyone involved, including you. And I'm so sorry that you're having to feel those feelings, because that's hard. And I know how maddening it can be, how angering it can be to have to put up with some of the shit that you have to put up with from us. And it's not okay. You know, I believe that you should try and be as patient and forgiving with us as you possibly can, but you also need to stick up for yourself. My daughter has had to call me on my shit more than once. Like, Mom, you're projecting. Stop it. Stop assuming the worst of everything I'm saying. You're making this harder on both of us. And I have had to readjust my shit more than one time because of that. And rightfully so. But you 100% have the right to hold people accountable for how they're treating you. And you should. Mental illness should not be an excuse to be shitty to people. And I have done my fair share of that. I was a total piece of crap in my 20s. I hurt so many people. I don't think I'll ever fully forgive myself for it. But I learned a lot from it. And I try so hard nowadays not to do it. And it's not always easy, right? The crap that's going on in our brains makes us lash out a lot of the times. We hear things wrong or whatever it is. We get overstimulated, we get over emotional, and we lash out. And that's not fair. It's not okay. To my fellow spiral brains, we have a huge responsibility to work so hard not to hurt the people in our lives. And I know how hard that is. I know so much of what we do and say comes from our mental illness. So we do need to try to have some grace with ourselves about it, forgive ourselves, while at the same time trying so hard to figure out ways not to do it again in the future. And let me be clear that I am not talking about violence here. That is a whole different level. And if you have been violent with your loved one, or if your loved one has been violent with you, please, you don't have a choice about whether or not you seek treatment. You must seek treatment immediately. You must be in therapy immediately. You must be getting on medications immediately. That is another level where you just very much have to do something about it. It is not acceptable. It will never be okay. You must seek help immediately. But I don't think most of us are violent. I think most of us will just say hurtful words, cancel plans all the time, break hearts. And those things too aren't okay. They're things that we should be trying to forgive ourselves for and trying to figure out a way not to do again in the future. Scream into a pillow instead of screaming at your friend. Telling your teddy bear they're a dirty, rotten bitch instead of telling your sibling that. Try and give some notice when you have to cancel plans. Try not to assume that they mean the worst by the words they're using. I know that's one I'm really bad at. But we gotta try, man. But back to the original question, how can I help? Mostly just love without judgment. You can ask questions. It's totally okay not to understand. You can ask them to help explain what it is they're going through, or maybe if you're confused about why they can't work or why they can't whatever, you can ask, but you should couch it in love as much as you can. Like, baby, I love you and I totally believe that you are doing the best that you can. Can you help me understand why it is that you can't do X? I want to understand. I believe you, but I just don't understand. I would just like help understanding. You can totally do that. 100% okay, as long as it is sort of in the envelope of love. And one of the very best things you can tell them, aside from I love you with no judgment, is I believe you. So many people do not believe us, which is mind-blowing to me because suicide is one of the leading causes of death. So I don't think everybody's lying about it, but a lot of people do think we are. So if you can just tell them you believe them, that can go a long way too. You can't cure them. You can't really make things better, but you can, with some of these things I've said, make things just a little easier, just that day to day. I had quite a few people talk about how they've had a loved one kill themselves. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. To you and the person who's gone, I am so, so sorry. That is one of the most awful things that you will ever have to go through, and I am so, so sorry you had to. And many of you said things like, if I just would have gotten there earlier, if I would have known, or if I could have, maybe I could have. And I want to say something that might be considered a little controversial here. But I don't believe you could have saved them. I don't believe anyone can be saved by anyone other than themselves. That onus was on them. Only we can save ourselves. I'm sure you did everything you could with the knowledge and the tools that you had. And that's all any of us can do. When I was 4 or 5 years old, my aunt killed herself. The first time she tried, she was saved. She had been stopped. But the first chance she had after that, she did what she wanted to do. My mother was there when it happened, and I helped her get through it as much as I could at that age. And I was able to see from a very, very young age, in a very direct and personal way, how it affects the people in our lives. And she was a wonderful woman, a beautiful, loving, sweet soul, and a fantastic mom. But the depression lied to her so well that she believed her family would be better off without her. And I know for a fact that's not true. I know for a fact that 45 some odd years later, her children are still affected by it. I know for a fact that my mom never fully healed from it. I know that it stays with our loved ones for the rest of their lives. And knowing that, having it stamped on my soul from such a young age, growing up, seeing the effects of it, is, I believe, the only way I've been able to save myself. I don't have any doubt at all that I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't seen that, if I didn't know to my core that that depression is lying to me. It is purely because of that experience that I've been able to save myself, because that depression is such a good liar. It is so good at convincing you that the whole wide world would be better if you were gone. It's not just about the pain. That's not the only thing that makes us think of ending it. It's also that we feel like we are a burden. We are a drain. We are making things harder for the people that we love. And it's damn near impossible not to believe the lies, because that voice in our head speaks a hell of a lot louder and longer than you ever could. You can't be there in the middle of the night assuring them that you love them and you want them around, but that voice is there. So only we can save ourselves. Only I can save me. And I know it might seem a little conflicting what I'm saying, like on the one hand, you can make things a little easier for them, but you can't save them. And it's like the people that give out water at marathons. Those folks that hand out the water to those marathon runners can be godsends. That cold drink of water can mean everything to that runner. But it's not the water that keeps the people's feet moving. Only they can do that. The water is an amazing reprieve, and it probably makes it easier to keep pumping your legs. But it's not the water, whether you get that water or not. It's up to you to get yourself across the finish line. So you can be a cold drink of water on a long, hot day, but you can't actually pick them up and carry them to finish the race. That's on them. So I want to say to the people who have lost somebody to this disease, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. You couldn't have saved them. It wasn't in your hands. You couldn't have fixed it. You're not God. You weren't that person. You could not have saved them. And I know some lady on the internet telling you that isn't going to mean anything. I know how hard it is to believe that. But I genuinely think it's true. As someone who is living with what your loved one was living with, I can tell you that you cannot save me. No one in my life can save me. The only one who can save me is me. So I hope with everything in me that you can just a little bit take some of that burden off of your heart. It's awful what you've had to endure. It's awful and it's unfair, but it's not your fault. Because like I said in the last video, medical professionals, people who dedicate their entire life to this, don't really understand it. And not for lack of trying. I know so many of them want to help so much. Like I watched this lovely lady on YouTube named Gladys. She is a mental health professional, and I believe she wants so much to help. I believe she's dedicated her life to figuring out how to help people like us. And so many medical professionals have dedicated their whole life, their whole mission in life is to help people like us, and they still really don't know how to. It's so misunderstood. It's so hard to understand. And folks who have trained for decades still really don't know how to help people like us. Not in any substantive, real way. They can help, they can give us water for the marathon, but even they don't know how to save us. So how could you have, honey? How could you have? I'm sending you my love, and I hope that you're able to find a little more healing every day. You deserve that. Why are there so many now? Have there always been this many? I think it's a combination of things. I think there are some more of us now, but I don't know if I think there's a whole lot more of us now. I think we're a lot more visible now, partly because of social media and the fact that we have a better understanding of it. We're not just calling it hysteria anymore. We understand it better. We understand how it's affecting the people in our lives. And then there's social media, which makes us able to talk with people all over the world. So we're discussing these heavier topics. And I do think there's a slight rise. Social media is sort of a double-edged sword in that, yes, we're able to talk about it more. We're able to understand it more. That's good. But it also lends itself to an awful lot of meanness, people being anonymous on the internet so they can say things they would never otherwise say. I also think some of it is political, which I won't go too much into. We've set up society in such a way that there's just all these demands on us, and you just must do, constant doing in order to sort of be a proper part of society. And for a lot of us, that is just really, really hard. I also think there's just something about content creation that kind of draws us neurodivergent, mentally ill, kind of crazy brains into it. I think a lot of us we have a hard time connecting with people in real life. And somehow that lends itself to making it easier to talk to a camera. It's just a theory I have. I could be wrong, but I think it's true. So a lot of the people that you're watching that make things on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of those things have a little bit of spiral going on up here, which means that you're going to hear more about it. So that's part of it. But I do think there is a bit of a rise in it, which kind of ties into another question I had. What causes mental illness? That's another one of them questions that Sapolsky could probably answer better than me. But I did hear one time somebody said, and I'm probably going to mess up like exactly how it was said, but it struck me really true. So if mental illness were a gun, nature loads the bullet and nurture pulls the trigger. And I think that's right. I think it's very much a combination of factors. Things are genes, things that happen when we were in the womb, things that have happened while we've been alive, just like a perfect storm of events that come together to make someone like me. And if nurture is pulling the trigger, then things like mean people on social media, the demands placed on us by society, getting bullied in school, poverty, all these things can lend themselves to causing it in folks and could help explain why there's a rise in it. Wouldn't I be healed if I just didn't care what people thought about me? I laugh because first, I don't even know, how do you just not care? We're a pack animal. So naturally, we care an awful lot about what other people are doing, including what they think about us. I know that some people can do that whole I don't care what other people think about us thing, and that's amazing. Good on you. I'm so happy for you. But I don't think that the majority of us can do that, can just turn off that caring gene. I don't care what you think about me. That'd be so great. I wish I could. But even if I could, even if that was something I could do, just not care what anybody thought about me, it's not like that would cure me. It wouldn't make the depression go away. It wouldn't make it so that I could do things. I mean, it would probably help with some of the self-hatred. And so that would be very helpful. But it wouldn't cure me. I would just be sad and incapable of doing the things, but I just wouldn't care what you thought about it. So, I mean, it'd be nice in that regard, but it wouldn't cure me. How do we help ourselves through this? Firstly, I don't have the magical answers, unfortunately. But I think, the first thing is you have to try all the things. You have to just try everything that all the people suggest. You just have to try, because some of those things do help people. Some people get really helped by therapy. Some people are saved by medication. Some people find it in religion. Some people find it through exercise. There are things that can help a lot of people, and you won't know if that's something that can help you until you try it. So try eating the way they say you should try. Give it 6 months. Try regular exercise. I mean, we should be doing that anyway, but try it specifically for this. Give it 6 months. Try various vitamins. Try therapy. Really, really try therapy. Give that more than 6 months. Give that one 6 years. Give it a lot of time. Therapy. It can help a lot of people. Try all the medications. I know it's not fun, but try it anyway. So that's the first thing. If you haven't already tried all the things, try all the things. Earnestly, with the hope and prayer in your heart that it will work, with an open mind that it will work. Try it. But for an awful lot of us, we have tried all of those things over and over and over again for decades. And at a certain point, you just have to come to a place of acceptance. Accept yourself for who you are. Accept that this is a battle that you will probably always be fighting. And try to find forgiveness for yourself. Try to find a way to hate yourself less, because that's what a lot of this is, right? And I think a lot of the self-hatred comes from things that we've done in response to the mental illness, things we haven't done in response to the mental illness. So I think that that's the number one key thing for people who have tried all of the things and are just now in a place of trying to sort of mitigate it, learn how to deal with it as best as we can and accept it. Our number one goal now is learning to try to love ourselves a little bit despite all of that. Try to forgive ourselves for the things that we have done, for the things that we might do in the future. And that is one of the things that therapy did for me. It's probably the only thing I would really say that the therapy did for me was it helped me understand a little bit better that it might not all be my fault. And Sapolsky too, watching the lectures from Sapolsky and understanding more the science behind these things has really helped me to just feel a little less like it's all my fault. I still think a lot of it's my fault, but I do think that maybe some of it's not, and that helps with just having a little less self-hatred, and that helps with just making things slightly lighter and slightly easier to carry. So I would suggest, if you're not already in therapy, get in therapy specifically for finding ways to forgive yourself and love yourself, or find some love for yourself. I know it's not that easy, but a little bit anyway. And learning from people like Sapolsky about how behavior is so dictated by our biology to help us understand a little bit better, that can be helpful. And I also think some of it is just Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. You just gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other. You just have to stay. Because we were talking earlier about what not staying does to our loved ones. And I'm here to tell you that no matter how believable those lies are, how maliciously they're telling you what they're telling you, that lying, liarton voice in your freaking head, I am here to tell you it is lying to you, baby. I don't care how believable it sounds, it's lying to you, and they need you to stay. And I know that sometimes it is just a matter of just keep swimming, and that's all you can do, but that's what you gotta do, baby. You gotta keep swimming, and you gotta wait for the better days, because it goes up, it goes down, it's always there. The depression is always there, like a bad flu that it will just never go away. That aching, both psychically and physically, will always be there. But sometimes it's just a little bit easier to deal with. And so in the really, really bad moments, you just have to tell yourself, if I wait long enough, it'll get better. It'll be a little easier. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next month, but it will. And I'm going to just keep swimming until I get there, because I know that voice in my head is lying to me, and I don't want to be the cause of lifelong pain to the people that I love. And sometimes it's just that brutal. That's all we can do. And I'm sorry I don't have any better advice than that, because I still don't have it figured out. Not after all these freaking years, 40 freaking 2 years of dealing with this, and I still don't have it figured out. Like, I'm on this amazing trip here, trip of a lifetime, and I am still having just as many bad days as anywhere else. Just as many days where I am frozen and I cannot do anything. And those are the days that I just have to remind myself, I am not going to hurt my loved ones. I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait it out. So some of it is just waiting it out. And maybe watch Little Sapolsky while you do so. Someone asked why I don't get a pet. Woo, I want a dog so bad. Or a cat or a bird. I just love animals. And I do know how helpful they can be for folks with depression. But I am just not in a good place to be a good pet mom. Mostly financially. Like, if I had a pet that needed to go to a vet, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I have had to rehome pets in the past, because I just got too overwhelmed and I couldn't do it. And that's an awful feeling. And I don't ever, ever, ever want to have myself or any animal that I have in my life have to go through that again. So I will not get a pet until I know I can be a good, responsible pet mom. And I'm not there yet, but hopefully someday. Someone asked if I could give techniques on how I deal with depression. Not healthily. I'm not healthy about it. I dissociate. I just take myself out of it. I really did teach myself how to just sort of live on the surface of things and not feel any of the deep stuff. That has actually been really bad for me on this trip. Because again, I'm on the coast in freaking Washington in the summer. It's amazing. And I find myself constantly not really being here, constantly just not in the moment, not appreciating what I'm seeing, because I've worked so hard and just sort of hovering above it all and not really feeling any of it. But now I want to feel it, and I have to work so hard to bring myself into it and look at what you're looking at. Look at what you're looking at. So I don't recommend that as a coping mechanism, because it can take away the good just as much as it can take away the bad. But I find it very hard it's a hard habit to break once you've started. But some of the other things that I do are, I just try really hard to remind myself on the really bad days that it is a cycle and it will get a little bit easier, and just wait for these days, just get through it. And when it is a slightly better day and I do have slightly more energy, I try to put myself in places that feel good. And as cliche as it sounds, that's nature a lot of times. I know there are some folks who don't like to be in nature, but a lot of us do. And for those of us who do, I really think that it actually is very good for your soul to be out, to get in the sun if you can, to get out by water if you can, just to be surrounded by trees if you can. That can feel good. There's an energy in places like that we can feed off of in a very good way. And there's lots of places that we can get that kind of energy, right? Concerts for some of us. For some of us, it's coffee houses. So on the days that you have the energy, try and put yourself physically in places that make you feel good. And on the really bad days, honestly, I just try my hardest to distract myself. Again, not the healthiest of coping mechanisms, but I will use, video games on my phone, audiobooks, watching movies, because, I think a lot of us have these really rude brains. It's just like the record playing over and over and over again. You're stupid. You're bad. You've messed up so many times. Look at where you are. Oh my gosh, why are you so stupid and bad? And how many times you've messed up, and look at where you are, and look at how bad and stupid you are, and you've messed yourself up and so many times. Look where you are. If I just let that bitch play on a loop, I will go even crazier than I already am. So a lot of it really is just trying to shut that up. Just shut up, please. Let me go play some Marble Madness or something on my phone. But again, I don't know if like a therapist or whatever would tell you that is the healthiest way to do it. Like in 15, 20 years of therapy, I have not found how best to do it. I can only just tell you what I've done to survive, what I've done to avoid making that ultimate bad decision. That's what's worked for me. So far, I'm still here. Have you ever looked at funny movies to lift your spirits? Yes, of course. Like what I just talked about, I do that a lot. It serves as a wonderful distraction. It doesn't, cure me. Obviously it can't, but it does definitely help as a good distraction. What can we say to someone who is severely depressed and wants to talk about it? She goes on to say that she struggles with the words. So I thought I would just offer up a few specific words that I would say to someone. I love you. I don't care what you've done today. I don't care what you're going to do tomorrow. I don't care what happens next year. I am always going to love you. I believe you're doing the very best that you can. And I am so proud of you for that. The only thing I want from you, the only thing I need from you is for you to exist. That's it. I don't require anything else from you in order for me to give you my love and respect. You've got that. I know that sometimes it takes all of your energy just to stay here on earth. And I am so grateful that you're putting your energy toward that. I know how difficult it is. And I'm so, so grateful you're doing that. And that's all you need to do. You just need to do that, and it's enough. And one of the biggest things you can say, I believe you. I believe what you're saying to me. Yeah, that's what I would say. Does being a loving mom help with your depression at times? I love my daughter so much. I am so lucky that I got to be her mama. She's just such a delightful young lady. And when I had her, I didn't realize at that time that depression could be such a progressive disease and that it would get so bad. I had no idea what was coming down the line. And while the selfish part of me says that I would have brought her into this world no matter what, even if I had known, because I just love her so much, there is a part of me that wonders if I had truly known, would I have maybe let somebody else bring her into this world? Because by the time she was 7 or 8 years old, it had gotten so bad that it has very much negatively affected her. I let her down in so many ways. I just couldn't be that mom that made sure she did her homework, made sure she had a home-cooked meal every night, brought her out and about, gave her a good social life. There were so many things she missed out on because her mama was depressed. And that is so unfair to her. I would give anything to change that. So to answer your question, no, I wouldn't say that being a mom made depression any easier. Depression made being a mom so much harder. And my daughter is the one who paid the price for that. And that's one of those things that I will never be able to forgive myself for. But I'm really lucky because for some reason, she still likes me a lot. A lot of people go undiagnosed and get hooked on drugs, self-medicating. Yes, totally agree. I think that it is damn near impossible to become so addicted to drugs that you're willing to steal from your grandma unless there's some sort of something you're self-medicating. I think there's an intrinsic link between mental illness and addiction to that degree, and we should be treating it as such and having more compassion for people that have addiction because they probably also got the mental illness. Every time you talk about it, you give it more life. Stop saying you're depressed. Say you're happy all the time. Fake it until you feel it. Oh, this reminds me of my stepmom. She used to tell me a long time ago that, oh, misery has just become a habit for you. You need to start faking it until you feel it so you can break that habit. And I totally believed that for a long time. I really did believe that idea that, if we thought positively, that we could make ourselves feel positive. And so I tried for so long to do that. And then I got to the point where I felt like I was just a failure at it. Oh my gosh, you're just so bad at thinking positive. See what a piece of shit you are. If you could just think positive, you'd feel better. It destroyed my self-esteem, what little I had of it. If I could just think better, I'd feel better. That word just, ooh, that word makes me so mad. If you could just get a job, if you could just do this, if you could just do that. Not just you. Kidding. No, I think that's some of the most horrible advice you can give to someone, because I think that it makes people like, they feel like, well, I wasn't good enough at thinking positive. See, look, I'm even a failure at that. But it's because it's not possible. You didn't fail at it, honey. It's not possible. We can't positively think ourselves out of chronic mental illness. It's not something you can do. So that'd be a good example of what not to say to your loved ones with mental illness. What did you do before depression, or has it been your whole life? It has been my whole life, at least since I was 8 years old. But for the most part, it was manageable. I was able to, I'd get knocked down by the depression, but I'd be able to just sort of get myself back up again, go get a job after I lost one, find some new friends, whatever it was. But then at some point in my 30s, late 30s, I guess, it started getting really, really bad. And it ended up where I am now. I've done a video about that before, so I won't go into too much detail about it because this video is already getting pretty dang long. I'll link it here in case you want to look at it. But yeah, it's been my whole life, but it definitely got a lot worse in my 30s. And I kind of look at my life almost like I'm two different people. I'm the person before that happened. We would have called it a nervous breakdown in my day. I'm pre-nervous breakdown Birdie, and I'm after nervous breakdown Birdie. And those two people have very different capabilities. But I'm doing the best I can every damn day. So that is all the questions. To the folks that asked these questions about folks with mental illness in their life, the folks that don't have mental illness but came here to better understand it, thank you so much. There are no words to tell you what a special and rare person you are, and how grateful I am that you would come and listen to me for however many. I have a feeling this is going to be a very long video, long minutes. I have been speaking about a very tough topic. Thank you for being that person in this world, for being that person to the loved one in your life. Thank you so much. And to my fellow spiral brains, thank you too for being here. Thank you for existing today and tomorrow. Thank you for staying here. I know how hard that is some days. Thank you so much for doing it. I am so glad you're here, and I hope today is being kind to you. And I guess that's it. So I'm going to go now. Thank you for watching. I love you.